person dealing with the cancer. It affects all the loved ones. Over 3,000 Canadians are diagnosed with cancer each week. That's a high number. Being well informed can help you fight cancer. So, this is what I hope to do tonight, is be able to inform you. The immune system is like an orchestra. And like an orchestra, your immune system has many different instruments, and they must each play the right part at the right time. Your immune system is responsible for fighting foreign invaders to your body, like pathogenic bacteria and viruses, so otherwise any colds, flus, right? But also destroying cells within your body when they become cancerous. So your immune system can take care of even a simple little head cold, or it can help to fight as serious as cancer. So I don't want to make this really heavy in the anatomy area of cells, but I just want to kind of go over some terms with you. Don't worry about grasping every definition of it, but hopefully some of it will make sense to you. So the cells of your immune system include what we call phagocytes. These are a group of cells that specialize in finding and eating the bacteria, viruses, and the dead or injured body cells. And there are 3 types of phagocytes. So you might have heard of some of these. So we have the granulocytes, which are often the first at the site of infection. So when you get an infection, how do you know something is infected? When you have a cut and it has a scab, that's not infected, right? But as soon as you get a little bit of white pus, it's an infection. So those are your granulocytes, okay? They're the first on the infections. The pus is comprised of the dead granulocytes. The macrophages alerts the rest of the immune system of the invaders, so known as your white blood cells in the bloodstream. Then there's the dendritic cells. These are your eater cells. They are filtering the foreign organisms and particles. Lymphocytes, have you heard of those? You've probably heard of the lymph system, right? So they originate in the bone marrow and migrate to the lymph system, known as your lymph nodes, spleen, and thymus. So a lot of times people are told that cancer is in the lymph nodes, right? There are 2 main types of lymphocytes. First one is called T cells, the second one is B cells. So the T cells are produced in your bone marrow, and then they move to the thymus where they become mature. And the B cells produces antibodies from the plasma cells. So both the T cells and the B cells create what we produce memory cells. They recognize the invaders and wipe them out before they affect the body. So if you happen to get a cold, and then that same virus comes around again, chances are you may not get that exact same cold because your body will recognize it. These cells, the B and T cells, produce memory cells, so it'll say, oh, alert, alert, I recognize this. We've been, invaded by these guys before, and so their big guns are out, ready to nail it so that you don't get really sick from this cold this next time again. If you are somebody that gets hit over and over with the same cold, that is telling you your immune system is very low because it wasn't able to develop those, to produce those memory cells to be able to be a defense for you. Your lymph system feeds cells into the body and filters out the dead cells and invading organisms such as bacteria. So we have what we call the helper T cells. These are the major driving force and main regulators of the immune defense. Primary task is to activate those B cells and killer T cells. The helper T cells must first be activated in order to work, and once they're activated, they produce proteins that then turn around and activate those B and T cells, as well as other immune cells. So here's a little bit of a drawing for you. So the phagocyte eats the bacteria, and then parts of the bacteria, known as the antigen, goes to the surface of the phagocyte. So it eats it, it comes to the surface. The phagocyte then presents this bacteria or antigen to the helper T cell. That helper T cell takes it and goes over, the helper T cell gets activated then, and the helper T cell, activated, yes, sorry. Let me get this right. The helper T cell is activated. So this is throwing me off. It's saying, here's your activated T cell. So, that, yeah, clear as mud, right? Let's move on. So the killer T cells now, they're activated. So these killer T cells go out and they're looking now for your viruses, your bacteria, and they fight them and kill them off. They terminate cancer cells and any cells that are infected by a virus or bacterium. So any cell that is sick and not healthy, right, takes it out. So another drawing. Let's see if I can read this one right tonight. So the B cell finds an antigen which matches its receptors. It waits until it is activated by that T cell in that last picture. Then the B cell divides to produce plasma and the memory cell. Then the plasma produces antibodies that attach to the current type of these invaders. So the antibodies go out, attack it, and because it has these little antibodies stuck to this bacteria, then the eater cells suddenly recognize it because it's marked now with those antibodies and eats them up. And then again, that memory cell is there now so that if it comes back, it's going to recognize it and activate the immune system faster. So overall, your immune system does a remarkable job, doesn't it, of defending you against disease. I mean, think about it. When it comes to the cells, that is just a touch of the surface. It is amazing how each little cell has so much detail and needs to have that exact job at the right time to activate each other and to make that domino effect work. Occasionally, though, a germ will invade and make you sick. And so this will happen. And is it bad if you get sick once in a while? No, it's not actually. As long as your immune system is working great, it gets out there, it fights it, it activates your immune system. So in a way, some say it's good to actually stimulate your immune system once in a while. The problem comes in when it can't fight it off. So here are some ways that to intervene and make your immune system stronger. Because the key is not to wait until we get this disease or illness or cancer or whatever it is, right? Let's try to keep our immune system healthy and activated to prevent these situations. So first off, do not smoke. Smoking actually weakens the immune system by depressing the antibodies. So you remember you needed those little antibodies, right, to stick to that pathogen so that the eater cells can recognize it and eat it. Now, if you are lacking in the antibodies, then there's no target for those eater cells or killer cells to consume it, right? So this is what happens with smoking is one way of weakening the immune system. There's a significant decrease in immune cells that normally help the body from smoking. Many cancer-causing chemicals from cigarette smoke travel throughout a smoker's bloodstream to reach the organs of the body and damage the immune system. The next one is alcohol. Avoid alcohol. Excessive alcohol intake can harm the body's immune system in two ways. First of all, it produces an overall nutritional deficiency. So it'll actually pull those nutrients out of the system. It'll deprive the body of valuable immune-boosting nutrients. Second, alcohol is like sugar, actually. It's consumed in excess. If consumed in excess, can reduce the ability of white blood cells to go out and kill the germs. Now, I think, did I mention it here? I get confused when I start to do these same seminars. But did I mention it here about the difference or the similarities between alcohol and sugar? Did I mention that? Yeah, so you could, with the children and that, right? You do the blood draw and it can, so the same idea, alcohol works like sugar on the body and vice versa. So you can see a number of cancers that alcohol can be responsible for. Now, in many cases, I try not to worry about, okay, this will cause this cancer and this cancer and this cancer. In reality, we don't want cancer, period, right? And yeah, there are better cancers and worse cancers, but really, we want to avoid them all if we can. But it is interesting to note that 75% of all esophageal cancers, for example, is from alcohol use. 50% of all mouth cancers, right? So we're not just saying alcohol causes these cancers. It can cause a number of cancers in the way that it lowers your immune system or it pulls out the good nutrients. But when you really look at what percent specifically of cancer cases alcohol can cause, it can be an eye-opener. Third one is exercise regularly. Exercise can strengthen the immune system, but did you know too much exercise can actually weaken it? So it's really important to start at the level that you're at. I tell people exercise is not a competition. It's for you personally. You need to start at the level you're at and work your way up from there. Doctors have found that exercise can boost your immune system by providing a boost to the cells in your body that are assigned to attack the bacteria. So otherwise, what? It's stimulating your immune system, right? These cells appear to work more slowly in people who don't exercise than in those who do. So how often should we exercise? Very good. You guys are good students here. So half hour a day, at least 5 days a week. Exercise slows the release of stress-related hormones, which is cortisol, right? And stress is shown to increase the likelihood of illnesses. So anything we can do to decrease that stress. And so again, mentioning comes the cortisol, the old blood out, which the cortisol and the other stress hormones go with it, and fresh blood in to revive the body. So we know exercise can definitely help reduce the risk of, in honesty, all cancers, right? Because it is boosting, once again, increasing and boosting the immune system, increasing those killer cells. Number 4, maintain a healthy weight. Excess body fat can tip the balance of a healthy immune system, creating immune cells that can harm rather than protect our body. It can affect the ability of white blood cells to multiply, produce antibodies, and rush to the site of an infection. So when there is an infection, it's like an ambulance, right? You don't want to wait for this ambulance to come or for it to get lost. The quicker they're there, the faster things can happen, right? You catch things faster, less risk of it becoming a bigger issue. Scientists have known for some time that excess body fat, particularly abdominal fat, triggers the production of so-called pro-inflammatory immune cells, which circulate in the blood and promote inflammation of our bodies. Other inflammatory immune cells, known as the macrophages, they are also turned on within the fat tissue. Obesity has become the major cause of type 2 diabetes and some cancers. So is there such thing as actually, in this case, we almost overstimulate our immune system because of the inflammation. So the body is trying to take care of this inflammation that we're creating, that instead of it fighting for our immune system, it's attacking the inflammation, which in reality is actually our body attacking itself. So when you think of arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, right, that is an autoimmune disease, where the body is actually attacking itself constantly with this inflammation. So it's not just the amount of fat that's important, but the origin. And the other night we mentioned the omega fats, your essential fatty acids, your omega-3 and your omega-6. And these are really important for building or boosting the immune system. Omega-6, I believe I mentioned this too, is found in our green leafy vegetables, our beans, a number of foods, but we tend to lack in omega-3, so we want to push that a little bit more. So going with flax seeds and walnuts are your pure source of omega-3, which is nice. So either ground flax seeds, flaxseed oil, walnuts. So I encourage people maybe to eat a tablespoon or 2 of ground flax seeds if you can a day, 4 to 6 walnut halves for breakfast. Anything like that is the ideal. Very few people realize that essential fatty acids are crucial to the health of their own and their children's immune system. So it is the base to the immune system, but especially children, as they are developing, they need it for the brain, but they also need it for the immune system in the way that if they are low and their immune system is low, they're going to develop a number of allergies, environmental or food allergies, so you want to make sure you're getting you as an adult, but especially them as a child, to get enough essential fats, especially omega-3, to prevent a lot of future issues with their immune system, but allergies specifically. We call them essential fatty acids because your body cannot make them. It has to come from the food that you eat. So that's why it's important we get enough of that. Now, I'm mentioning this as well. When it comes to omega-3 and omega-6, both are necessary. But when we get out of balance and we take too much omega-6 and not enough omega-3, if we have cancer specifically, it is starting to show, it shows in some cancers, some tumors, omega-6 will actually accelerate it. It'll help it grow. And so that's a reason we don't want to really push a lot of the omega-6 because it's going to come in our food. We need to push more of that omega-3. Having a few plant-based foods such as your your chia seeds or your hemp hearts, both of these are a nice equal balance of omega-3 and 6. And so that's okay to still have a tablespoon or so of those, tablespoon or two, because there's other good nutrients in that as well. But focus on some omega-3 with that. All right, last night there was a question about blood pressure. And so we kind of answered that a little bit, but controlling blood pressure plays a role on our immune system as well. A lot of times we just think of blood pressure to deal with heart disease, but it plays a role on the immune system. Chronic stress has long been known to have harmful effects on the immune system, as well as being a risk factor for hypertension. So I'm sure most of you, a natural response is for your blood pressure to go up when you are stressed. And again, the problem is when it goes up and stays up, right? Certain types of B cells or immune cells produce excess antibodies in response to factors such as high salt intake or stress. So again, we kind of cut back on the salt because that can raise our blood pressure. But having too much salt can actually lower your immune system as well. And that is why sometimes with people who have cancer, we'll put them on more of a restricted diet of cutting back on their sodium so they don't get too much salt in their diet because it can compromise the immune system. T cells seem to contribute to the development of various forms of hypertension. Studies are showing that hypertension, high blood pressure, has become another autoimmune disease. Adequate sleep. Get adequate sleep. This is becoming a bigger issue all the time. And this tends to be more of a risk for men than women. Women tend to go to bed a little bit earlier and get, better sleep. Men are one that kind of, like to burn the midnight oil sort of thing. During your sleep, your immune system releases small proteins, and these proteins actually help promote sleep, okay? So you need sleep in order to promote sleep. Isn't that interesting? So these certain cytokines need to increase when you have an infection or inflammation or when you're under stress. So when you have a cold or you have a flu, what do you need? Rest, right? You need more rest. And so sleep deprivation may decrease production of these protective cytokines, and in addition, infection-fighting antibodies and cells are reduced during periods when you don't get enough sleep. So when you are sick, you especially need lots of rest in order to boost that immune system, right? But again, if we're burning the candle on both ends or burning the midnight oil all the time, our immune system is going to be lower. And so sleep is important. Your body needs sleep in order to fight those diseases. Interesting enough, long-term lack of sleep also increases your risk of obesity, diabetes, and heart and blood vessel disease or cardiovascular disease. Get plenty of fresh air. Without oxygen, your cells will die in 3 minutes. Probably pretty important, isn't it? As it is one chemical essential for the cells to create energy. So fresh air, we know that it's needed for cleaning the lungs, purifying the lungs, right? So deep breathing is important. A lot of times we shallow breathe. We only use about half of our lung capacity. And so that is one reason to sort of stop and focus on how you're breathing. and try to have good posture and get that deep breathing in. Or when you're exercising, that's one of the reasons that walking is one of your ideal exercises. Because when you walk, your posture is nice and straight compared to jogging or some of these other exercises where you may not be able to totally inflate and deflate your lungs. And so deep breathing important. Our white blood cells require more oxygen when working to kill and destroy bacteria, viruses, and germs. So again, if we have a cold, it's important not to breathe in real cold air, but we still need fresh air. Not just to kill the germs in the room, per se, if we open our window or crack, but we need that fresh oxygen to come into our body to stimulate our white blood cells. So fresh air actually purifies the blood. It makes it a bright color. It sends the blood a life-giving current to every part of the body. So we need oxygen. Cancer cells are not like any other cells in the human body. This is interesting. So remember now what I said as far as the cells go. We need oxygen or they will die in 3 minutes. Cancer cells, on the other hand, the way they metabolize and create energy for living and multiplication, it's unique and dangerous. Normal cells, they love oxygen, but cancer cells do not. They prefer sugar or glucose. Interesting, right? So all this oxygen is going to stimulate your healthy immune system and boost your red blood cells, right, with that oxygen. But the cancer are going to panic over it. Cancer cells have an anaerobic, which means without oxygen, metabolism. So going for fresh air, getting in that fresh oxygen is one way, but there's other means too, especially if you are dealing with cancer. Some people choose to do oxygen, liquid oxygen, and put it into your water as drops, and that's a way of getting it into the system as well. You might have heard of a hyperbaric oxygen chamber. Have you ever heard of those? It looks like a tube you kind of lay on a bed and it's encapsulated, right? And it's putting this oxygen in there and kind of forcing it through into your cells. And oxygen flooding is increasing oxygenation through the use of peroxide or ozone. Have you ever heard of people taking peroxide internally? So they would use, first of all, let me clarify this. It's not your typical peroxide that you would buy in a grocery store, okay? It's a food-grade hydrogen peroxide, for one thing. But I like to warn people about it because it is very, very concentrated. It's actually 11 times the strength of that which is in the store. Food-grade hydrogen peroxide works excellent for cleaning. It's one of your best sources. It's natural, it's non-chemical. You just mix it 11-to-1 with water and it works fabulous. Now, I know a lot of people that promote it for cancer as well. Personally, I haven't gotten into promoting it in the way of taking it internally, but I know people who believe that they've reversed their cancer based on it. In fact, the little town that I'm in with my health food store in practice, it's where it's happened. And people are onto it and they've used it for years, and it's because of the testimony of this one person and it's done well. The reason that it has worked is because it's bringing the oxygen into the body. But in saying that, you must be very careful. If you were to take this pure food-grade hydrogen peroxide without doing it the 11-to-1 and put it on your skin, it will actually burn your skin. It'll turn your skin white. So if you were to take drops of this, of course it's going to burn everywhere as it touches. So for anyone to do this, you have to be extremely, educated on what you're doing, working with someone who's very wise to tell you what to do. So you would actually, make sure that you're doing the right ratio, and only a couple of those drops added to water yet that you drink and take in. So I'm not going to tell you how to do that because I don't tell any of my clients how to do that. I'm just not comfortable with it, but I know people who have done it. I'm not going to shun it either or say it's a bad thing. I'm just not comfortable enough to put someone through that at this point. Now, hydrogen peroxide on the other hand though, again, if you're using it, use the food grade. The one you buy at any store is actually other stuff added. It's kind of chemical. It's not what you're totally wanting. So go with the food grade, and you can take like a quarter, half a cup and put it into a full bathtub of water And you can kind of soak in that, and in that warmth, it's going to draw that into your system as well. So that's a thought. If people have hot tubs, you can use it in your hot tub, and you're going to be able to absorb it, but it actually takes the place of the chemical cleaners in a hot tub. So you don't have to have the chlorine and all that, which are those co-carcinogens. Instead, you got the hydrogen peroxide to keep your hot tub clean, and you're able to absorb that oxygen. So to me, that's the wise way to try it. But again, just don't go overboard and put too much in, right? Or you might be, you don't want to cook in it. So when it comes to ozone, on the other hand, this one I have a little bit more experience with. I personally owned a machine that did oxygen and ozone, and I've seen some wonderful results with it. I've experienced it personally and enjoyed it. And what is ozone? So we have the oxygen atom. Oxygen molecule is called O2, okay? So when it comes to ozone, it's O3. And what that means is this, when it has, O2 is a nice stable molecule, and ozone is more or less unstable because it's got that third one there. So it's always trying to give it away so that it can make itself stable. And at the same time, any cell that comes into contact with that O3 will then take on this third atom. When this happens, oxygen's traditional properties become more powerful and more energized. So ozone is more potent even than just oxygen itself when it comes to healing. Ozone is the most powerful and rapidly acting oxidizing agent on Earth. One molecule of ozone is equal in its activity to between 3 to 10,000 molecules of chlorine. So, it is the best killer of harmful pathogenic organisms. Ozone takes only 10 seconds to kill 99% of bacteria, fungus, yeast, mold, and viruses, where it's 3,500 times faster than chlorine. So, ozone. Have you ever smelled ozone? Yes. When you have a rainstorm or a rain shower and you go outside, does it smell fresh? That is ozone. That is ozone in the air that you are breathing. It's that freshness. It is shown to kill cancer cells upon contact. So that is the reason I got into it. I believed in ozone for this, and I've seen great results in combination with other things. Diet, exercise, they need to play a role all together, okay? I eventually kind of got out of it. It started to be a little bit stressful to me because this is what happened. People would come in and say, I have cancer and I want this machine, I need this treatment. And I was happy to do this with them, but while they're in the machine, I would review with them their diet and different ideas. And they thought this machine was the cure-all. You know, they expected a miracle, and after 3 treatments, they come in and say, why isn't my cancer cured? And it was just a lot of stress. I am not the healer. You know, I'm that, what shall I say, the messenger. I just try to get the information out there, but there's more than, it's not a quick fix, right? We need to change our diet and lifestyle to truly heal inside out. So I believe that this still works, and if you know places you can go and enjoy a machine like that, it's excellent. I really highly suggest it. But keep in mind, you need to do a combination of things. It's not the one-all cure-all. When ozone is directed to the disease area, cancer cells are forced to go into apoptosis and they die off. Interesting enough, ozone only kills the pathogenic cells. So people would come and say, well, you know, what's this going to do to me? I'm really scared of it. How's it going to hurt me? It's not going to hurt you. Now, the hurt can come in if you're breathing in direct ozone. In the amount that's in your air after a rainstorm, it's very, what shall I say, it's not concentrated. When it's in a machine, it's concentrated. And so, you know, we're very careful and cautious of wrapping you up proper so your body's subjected, but and actually I had oxygen that they would breathe in, just a normal oxygen too. And you get oxygen that way as well. So it's, when it gets in the body, it's targeted to only those pathogenic cells. Chemotherapy and radiation are just as efficient at killing the cancer cells. But this is the bad part. They also kill the healthy cells. Okay? So they actually their plan is, when you do chemotherapy, is to kill off the immune system. And they'll take you off anything that stimulates your immune system because it's working against what they're trying to do. So that's the risk that can come in with taking some of these other conventional type methods. Now, in saying that, let me just mention this as well. When somebody comes into my clinic or office and I speak to them, they have, cancer, and I'll work through with them ideas and such. But I always tell them that it's up to them. It is a personal choice how they treat their cancer, what they want to do with it. And so I'm not somebody that is going to push my ideas onto somebody and say, you absolutely should not do chemo or radiation or whatever. That is a personal choice. Either way, I can work with that person. There's always something you can do, whether it be diet or lifestyle or whatever, to enhance that healing method. So through my talk this evening as well, I'm not going to be telling you what you should or should not do. I'm just giving you options and ideas that you can use, not just to overcome cancer, but also to prevent it, remember, okay? So when it comes to dealing with cancer, when somebody is diagnosed, they need your support. One of the worst things we can do is push our ideas onto them. And if anyone's been through cancer, they'll understand this. It's a personal choice. They are the ones that have to live with it, right? But, of course, if you are a dear friend or a close relative, they're going to, they are going to probably want your advice or suggestion, but hear them out as well. And just be able to give them some of this information to go along with whatever they choose to do in the end. Because in the end, they need your support, right? They don't need your lecturing or whatever to go with it. And so support is what they need. Wash hands frequently. Keeping your hands clean. Now, how many of you were here the last time that I did a seminar back in the fall? A number of you were probably there. Okay. And so, I don't know if you remember, I showed you a little video clip. And it was about a worm in the brain stem. Yes. You remember that one? And so that was sort of a type of a parasite that is found in pork, and it's now being transferred through just handling. Maybe someone got it on their grocery cart when they were pushing, and then you put your hand there, and it can come in that way. And so keeping hands clean is very important. We're finding improved hand hygiene is one of the most important steps we can take to avoid getting sick in the first place, and then, of course, spreading those germs. Drinking plenty of water. So drinking plenty of water ensures that your blood will carry plenty of oxygen to all the cells of your body. This means that all of your body systems will function adequately because they'll be getting plenty of oxygen. So water is your oxygen carrier throughout your body. So we need to make sure we're getting in our good 8 glasses of water a day. Water allows your kidneys to remove the toxins from your body, so being able to detoxify. It allows your cells to take in the nutrients. It allows them to expel the waste products. So if you're not drinking enough, the toxins build up, and your immune system becomes weakened. Your body's immune system uses lymph. So we talked about the lymph system and the lymph, right? The nodes. So the immune system is using your lymph to circulate white blood cells and nutrients to all the body tissues. Lymph fulfills the following functions. It carries the water and nutrients to the blood and through the blood and then to the cells of the body. It carries white blood cells and other immune system cells from the thymus and the bone marrow throughout the body. And it removes toxins from the blood. Do you remember last night when we talked a little bit about the exercise thing and I showed you the rebounder and that little mini trampoline? The reason that is such a good mechanism for exercising is because it does this. It moves the lymph. It makes the lymph move. And that's why a rebounder is really good to have. So it's not just a play toy. It's not just a mini trampoline to jump around on. It really does good. So your body needs water in order to produce lymph even. So not just moving it through, it needs it to produce. Without lymph, your white blood cells and other immune cells would not be able to travel throughout the body to fight disease. Next, eat a balanced diet. Your immune system needs a steady intake of vitamins and minerals. And how is this accomplished? By eating lots of fresh fruits, vegetables, right? The whole foods we talked about, lots of beans, whole grains, nuts, seeds, and so forth. Poor nutrition has been shown to result in increased infections, and it'll slow down the healing of those injuries and infections because, of course, your immune system doesn't have the nutrients to go on to be nice and strong. So fitting in here again, someone who has cancer. Have you ever heard the saying to starve out cancer? Yeah? And in a way, it makes sense because you're trying to feed the healthy cells and starve out the sick cancer cells, right? However, when I was doing my PhD, I had a couple of choices of elective courses that I had to take. I had to choose a couple of elective courses, and one of those was cancer I chose. And I did my dissertation on cancer as well, just because I knew the need was going to be great as time even goes on. And out of this course that I had taken, there is one thing that stood out huge in my mind to this day that I warn and really try to educate every person with cancer on. And that is to make sure you are getting your calories. When we are diagnosed with cancer, usually it's discouraging, right? It can make people feeling down and depressed, maybe panic and, whatever. And food is not suddenly at the forefront of your mind to go and start enjoying a bunch of food. And so it takes a little bit to kind of keep that person going to eat. Secondly, if you end up doing some treatments like chemo or radiation, that'll kill your taste buds, that'll kill your appetite. So again, you don't feel like eating, right? So a lot of times we get into doing a lot of cleansing and fasting and juicing. Now those all have a very good purpose in place, no matter what disease we're fighting, right? That's going to give us the energy and the nutrients to feed our live cells, our good cells, to help them rapidly reproduce. However, if we start to go on too much cleansing and just juicing and not focusing on getting in enough food and calories, your stomach begins to shrink. And pretty soon, we're eating less and less and less. And I learned that 50% of all cancer deaths are not related. Ended up, they did not die from cancer itself. They died from starvation. That's pretty sad. 50% died of starvation. They didn't actually even die of the cancer in the end. So that is one thing that I work with my clients to make sure that they are still getting their calories. Now what's important? Everything that goes past these lips counts at this point. Everything, right? And so you have to be very careful of what you're eating. This is true. But make sure you are eating. So this diet that we've been talking about these last few nights are a healthy diet that you can still eat and feel full and not panic that it's passing your lips. It's good, healthy food to give you that nutrition. But please keep eating and please encourage the people who are suffering with cancer to eat. And one of the best gifts that you can give anybody who is struggling with cancer is to take them a pot of soup. Take them some homemade bread. Take them some food for their family. It is such a stress-releasing situation to have this food given to you. It's the best comfort that you can give that person. And so help them by giving them this nutrition by encouraging them, by giving it to them. All right, have you heard of intestinal flora or bacteria? Okay, this happens in your intestinal tract. So you have good and bad bacteria always in your gut. The key is to make it needs to be balanced in order to fight different types of pathogens and bacteria and so forth. And so what will encourage more good intestinal flora would be the regular consumption of something like fresh, raw, fermented foods. So when we're saying fermented, we are not saying fermented to the point of alcohol. It's fermented slightly to produce that good bacterial culture, okay? And so fresh sauerkraut is a good option. A lot of times we buy sauerkraut and it is packed with vinegar and salt. And vinegar will actually dry up your red blood cells. It'll get in the blood, it'll just cause the blood cells to dehydrate. and they'll just shrivel up and dry up. We're trying to make them activated, right, with lots of oxygen. And so vinegar is a big issue. If we can try to refrain from the vinegar, that is just healthy overall. So if you like vinegar to cook with or use in salads, and that apple cider vinegar fits into this situation. So have you heard of apple cider vinegar? So it's a vinegar, but it's different. It's actually created totally different than regular white vinegar. White vinegar is dangerous to your system, but apple cider vinegar works like this, where it's just that raw fermentation. So when you're buying apple cider vinegar, you have to look at the bottom, and they have what they call the mother, which looks like a lot of pulp or something on that bottom. That is what provides that good bacteria. You can actually go to a grocery store and buy apple cider vinegar, and it looks clear and pure. Heinz is one that has one out, some of these brands. But if there's no mother, don't buy it, because it's filtered and processed and does not have the good bacteria in it, okay? So if you like apple cider vinegar, then that's a good option to use. Myself, I don't even like the smell of it, to be honest. And so I use lemon juice. Lemon juice works excellent in place of vinegars. And so you can make a lot of salad dressings in that using the lemon juice. So you can also do your own homemade fresh sauerkraut, or you can sometimes find it in health food stores in the refrigerator, and it is made with just a little bit of salt, so the vinegar isn't in it as well. Now some ask me about kombucha. That is an example. Kombucha fits into this category as well. It's a little bit too alcoholish smell for me, so personally I can't enjoy it because I'm just not an alcohol. I don't do any alcohol, so it turns me off for that. But I know lots of people who don't, have a problem with it, and it is not to the point of alcohol. It should not be. And if it goes over, if you do too much of it, it actually turns into a vinegar. So it still doesn't become bad for you in an alcohol state. That one, it becomes a vinegar and works almost like an apple cider vinegar. But it's good for cleaning. I know that. I have lots of these natural cleaners. Eat foods that are going to boost your immune system. You know, broccoli is one of your healthiest vegetables to consume. I never used to like broccoli, and actually I love broccoli today. I will actually crave broccoli. Broccoli is supercharged with vitamins and minerals. It is packed with vitamin A, C, E, and antioxidants, and so forth. Spinach is a good choice. It's high in vitamin C, packed with numerous antioxidants, and beta-carotene. Do you know what beta-carotene is? Vitamin A. Whoever thought vitamin A is in your greens, right? Because usually A is orange, yellow, red. So, but your dark green vegetables have beta-carotene in them. Now, spinach has something that is called oxalic acid. Have you ever heard of that? Oxalic acid will actually leach calcium out of your bones, and it is in spinach, but it's in the mature spinach. So if you're going to eat spinach raw, use the baby spinach before that oxalic acid is produced. If you cook it, it kills that oxalic acid. So you can use mature spinach if you're going to chop it up and put it in a lasagna or things like that, then it'll kill that oxalic acid. Have you ever heard of alpha lipoic acid? ALA. It is a virtually unknown nutrient. It's naturally occurring phyal antioxidant, or simply stated, a sulfur-containing chemical. It is produced in plants and animals. It is potential. Research is showing it is potential to outperform chemotherapy in its ability to reduce cancer cell formation with little to no side effects or collateral damage. So, how can it be taken? You can take it in a supplement form. It's a powerful antioxidant in a supplement form. But we can also get these thiols, because it's made from these thiols, which are found in these foods. So these foods are powerful, your most powerful type of foods to produce antioxidants in the body. So asparagus, bok choy, cabbage, cauliflower, and so forth. I know some of you are writing those, so I'll just give you a minute.
Are they in order of most potent?
No,
No?
they're not in order. Correct.
cell phone comes in handy.
Yeah, exactly. Now I have eggs listed here. It's not always my #1 choice. There are many other choices there, but just for knowledge sake, it is in there as well. All right, got them? All right, what about goji berries? You've heard those. Very powerful antioxidant. Now, if you've never tried goji berries, they are a different flavor than what you'd expect. When you see them here, what taste do you expect almost?
Cherry.
Cherry? Yeah, good. To me, I was thinking maybe cranberry. Wasn't sure if it was going to be sour or sweet, and I put it in my mouth and it was a total different flavor than I ever expected. And so it is different, but you know, these are so potent, you'll only eat a very few at a time. You really don't need lots of them. And so you can put them into your cereal, you can put them on your salad, you can let them soak in some water or juice, and they'll puff up if you're using the dried, that's usually the only way I've ever found them, is the dried or goji berries. But look at all the benefits of a goji berry. So many good benefits. And of course, the most important that we're talking on tonight is the antioxidants and stimulating that immune system idea. Ginger. Everyone's heard ginger is good for you, right? I had no idea. When I started studying the power of ginger, I had no idea how good it was. Like, look at the list. And if you think that's a lot, keep going. So, again, strong antioxidant, okay? It can kill bacteria, including even salmonella. So that's pretty potent, right? It's got 2 natural antibiotics. So far down here, we know, this is interesting, component of ginger suppresses, otherwise stops the spread of any type of cancer. So it's actually any type of tumor growth, it'll help stop that spread, including skin cancer. And over here is a few other ones here. It inhibits the enzymes, this 5-LO enzymes, the only food for prostate cancer cells. Prostate cancer cells die in 1 to 2 hours without this enzyme. So ginger inhibits this enzyme, and without it, cancer cells die. Pretty neat, eh? And so again, pancreatic cell growth and beneficial constipation-related cancers, leukemia, and so forth. Lung cancer. It's quite amazing, all the different cancers it's useful for. The colon relieves indigestion, nausea, vomiting, right down to morning sickness, and so forth. This is what ginger looks like. It's a root. This is your ginger root that you're used to seeing. So, what are some ways that you can use ginger? Well, you can, my favorite way is when I'm not feeling well, one of the good boosting teas I like, and actually when I am feeling well, it's one of the just kind of the most satisfying teas, is I like to take a mint tea bag or mint tea leaves, and I'll make a mint tea, and in that I will add some slices of fresh ginger, and then let that steep, and then after I add a little bit of pure lemon juice and maybe a touch of honey to that. And that's a wonderful tea. Ginger you can steep in hot water and it's not going to affect it. Lemon juice I like to add after it just starts to cool slightly. If it's hot, it kills off your vitamin C. Heat kills vitamin C. So I try not to put it into really hot things if I can. And honey, by the way, is very antibacterial as well. Did you know that? No. So if you're not feeling well or you have a sore throat, you can suck on a little bit of honey. Now that honey, though, has to be pure, right, and unpasteurized. I have the benefit of my son who does honey or beekeeping. He's actually 17. I have to keep reminding myself how old he is, and he's been doing it for 4 years already. So he started when he was about 13, and he has 25 hives today. And he gets the honey and spins it out and does nothing with it, but he actually breaks down the particles. He extra whips it. So over a period of a full week, he is constantly whipping this honey, which most people don't take the time to do. So he does this, and it ends up being the most creamy honey you could imagine, and it'll never go hard. It's beautiful. So if you can get your hands on some really nice unpasteurized honey, just know that's healthy for you as well, right? Okay, we talked about vitamin A, known as beta-carotene. So vitamin A, you would usually get in a pill form. In your fruits and vegetables, it's called beta-carotene. It's the vitamin A is converted into that beta-carotene that the body is able to use. Now, I used to work at an eye clinic. I don't know if any of you have heard of Dr. Gimble in Alberta. So I worked for him, and he's an eye surgeon. And while there, we would see patients, and of course, everyone hears that vitamin A is good for the eyes, right? So we would have some patients come in, and they looked quite yellow. And we would have to right away find out from them, okay, what are you taking? You know, are you taking vitamin A pills? And if yes, then we'd have to encourage them, do not take that. If you're doing a supplement, you can still buy beta-carotene. It's safer. If it doesn't need it, the body throws it off. Vitamin A will be stored in your liver, and it can be toxic. So if you're turning yellow from taking vitamin A, that's toxic. So we'd say, you know, come on. And if they say, no, I don't take anything, I just drink lots of carrot juice. And we tell them, well, yellow looks great on you, keep going. It's totally safe. So a lot of the times when people have cancer, we promote carrot juice, don't we? Drinking a lot of carrot juice. And this is the reason why. Because of that vitamin A in it. It reduces the risk of cancer, specifically prostate, pancreatic, and other tissue lining type cancers. And so where is it found? Our orange, our red, our yellows, fruits and vegetables. So carrots, bell peppers, sweet potatoes, and so forth. Cantaloupe is very high in vitamin A, by the way. Very high. Ounce for ounce, red bell peppers have twice as much vitamin C, as well as being a rich source of beta-carotene. Red peppers are very high in beta-carotene, but it's actually, I didn't say ounce for ounce, red bell peppers have twice as much vitamin C as what? I didn't say there. Oranges, it should say oranges. So when my husband would get sick when I first married him, he would say to me, darling, go get me some peppers. I'm sick. And I'd say, yeah, you're sick. Anyone who's requesting peppers is sick. So fine, whatever. I go to the store, I get him a bag of bell peppers, bring it back, and he'd eat these bell peppers and drink water. And honestly, that night or the next morning, you would never know he was sick. He never got sick. And if he did, that's what he would take, water and bell peppers, and he was good to go, always. And what I didn't know is he was the true nutritionist. He knew that peppers were ideal, even higher than oranges for vitamin C. So oranges have a lot, again, of good benefits. High levels of vitamin C, antioxidant, and of course, we always think of the citrus being very high in vitamin C. But again, our green leafy vegetables have vitamin C. Lemons are very potent in vitamin C. Do you know where the most vitamin C is located in these fruits? In the white. The pith of the skin has your vitamin C, but it also has what we call bioflavonoids. And the bioflavonoids support the immune system, especially against allergies as well. So benefits of a lemon, I won't spend a lot of time on this, but lemons are superior. Should be used in our diet whenever we can. Has many good properties to it. It'll destroy at least 20 different germs. It's a powerful powerful effects on a germ found in influenza, so it's a germicide. It helps cut apart mucus, high amounts of ascorbic acid. It's a mighty immune booster. So lemons seem to be very acidic, don't they? But as soon as the juice hits your saliva, it actually becomes alkaline, and it alkalizes the body. So again, we want to be alkaline, right? The only time that you want your body to turn acidic is when?
Today.
When you're dead. Good. The only part of your body that should be really acidic all the time is what? Your stomach. That's right. And interesting, lemons alkalize the body, but they cause the stomach or stimulate the stomach to make hydrochloric acid. So it's a powerful, powerful food. Vitamin C will actually trick cancer tumors into killing themselves. Go figure, hey? So rather than attack the cancer cells directly, vitamin C compounds appear to convert into another oxidized substance known as, just to make life easier, DHA. The DHA tricks cancer cells into accepting it in, and then once it's in, it's converted back into the ascorbic acid, which is the type of vitamin C, causing the cancer cells to essentially commit suicide. So vitamin C is being used today as what we call natural chemotherapy. It's killing the cancer cells off. But the interesting and the good thing is it has no negative effects on the healthy cells once again. So it gets into those cancer cells and they more or less blow up, right? So some people are going to see specific specialists that deal with IV, vitamin C through IV treatments. And those IV treatments are very high doses of this vitamin C so that it can work like a chemotherapeutic way. Now, sometimes that can be the type of vitamin C, I should say, first of all, that is in that IV treatment is not water soluble. Vitamin C in general is water soluble. When you are taking vitamin C tablets, if you take too many, what happens? You can end up with the diarrhea, right? It more or less flushes you out, which is really good if you have a cold or a flu. It has that flushing effect. It'll build your immune system, plus flush you. Now, when it comes to cancer, to trying to get it into those cells, if it's water soluble, a lot of times it'll flush out before it gets into the cells. And so through an IV treatment, that is a way of getting it into the cells. Now, not everyone is able to find a place to have these treatments done, and maybe the cost is very, it's like $100 or so every time you have a treatment. And so there is another option now, which is really interesting, and it actually comes as almost a supplement. It is a supplement, I guess. It comes in tiny little packages, and it's called lipospheric vitamin C. Otherwise, it is fat soluble, not water soluble. It's put into a fat base. And so when you take this, it goes into the system and it's able to be absorbed into those organs of the body where it'll be able to be taken in to those cells, those cancer cells. And so this is possible. You can get this. Now, again, this is not just found on a health food store shelf. So some of these things I'm telling you about tonight is not something you can just walk into a store and buy, okay? So you have to find a practitioner that carries some of these things. I personally carry it through my practice as well, so if you don't find it, you can contact me. I didn't bring anything along because the main reason is with my talks that I'm giving, I want people to know I'm sharing the knowledge. I'm not here to sell you my products, okay? So that's why I don't bring boxes of stuff to sell to you. I'm just trying to share information. But in saying that, if these products work and there's something that you need and you can't get them, you can certainly contact me. And we can work it out through that way as well. But vitamin C is capable of helping to slow the growth of cancer cells in the prostate, pancreas, liver, and the colon. So some people ask me, can we take this for prevention? Yes, you can. You can take one every day if you want to. You can take one every few days. It's not going to hurt you. But somebody who has cancer will want to take a number of these per day to make it equivalent to the IV treatments. Okay, I had a couple of requests how to spell the lipospheric vitamin C. It's called lipospheric, so it's L-Y-P-O, lipo, L-Y-P-O, spheric, S-P-H-E-R-I-C, lipospheric, okay? All right, moving on. No, someone told me there is a Dr. Higgins in town here that does the IV for vitamin C, so that is an option. So 2 options if that is an interest. Okay, moving on. Oh, and before I forget, I've also had the question of, as you mentioned, I do own and operate a distance learning nutrition college. So my brochures are at the back. I've had some questions. I keep forgetting to announce this. So if you're interested in learning more or doing what I do, then that would be the course for you. And it is distance learning, so it comes to your home. It's like a correspondence course, and it's a 1.5-year program, part-time, to become a nutritional consultant. You get a diploma in nutritional consulting. So if you're interested in that, there are brochures at the back for that. Okay, let's move on. Turmeric. A lot of people hear about turmeric today, don't they? The other term for turmeric is curcumin. It's the same thing, okay? So this is what it looks like. Again, it is a root, see that? And you can get fresh turmeric. You can buy fresh turmeric and actually grate it, or you can buy turmeric powder. And so curcumin is the active ingredient which gives it the yellow color. So if you were to consume, ideally, 1 teaspoon per day of the turmeric powder, this is what it would do for you. 1 teaspoon will increase your immune system by 80%. So if you have a cold or flu or you're fighting something, 80%. Your mood, it'll increase by 63%, so otherwise good for depression, right, or anxiety. Your good cholesterol by 29% and your vision by 14%. It also will lower your risk of heart disease by 13%, stomach bloating by 50% because it's good for as a digestive aid, and joint aches by 58%. So if you're arthritic, right? So how would you take it? If you had a teaspoon of the actual powder, it is not a yummy flavor. I remember the first time I bought myself this big bag and I was all excited when I learned about this. Took a teaspoon and thought, what am I going to mix this in? I thought, oh, apple juice. It's yellow. This is yellow. I put it in, stirred it up, and went, oh, and my stomach came out my throat. I was like, that is nasty. So the way I can get through it is I actually will do a half a teaspoon at a time, and I'll mix it in some hot water and drink it like a tea or soup, and as I drink it, I just think, soup. If I think soup, it tastes good. So it's good. So sometimes people will mix it in coconut milk and get it in that way easier, but it's just a lot of extra fat, I figure, so that's why I prefer the hot water, and I do fine with the hot water. So try it that way first. It doesn't dissolve really nice, so as you're drinking it, you might have to stir it. When I get down towards the bottom, I sometimes add a little bit more water, and then later in the day, do the other half of a teaspoon. So it's, yeah, especially, I don't do this on a daily basis, which probably I should, but I certainly will do it if I'm not feeling well or feel like I'm fighting a cold or fighting something. So when it comes, I didn't put much more information on that. When it comes to turmeric itself, it will actually work kind of like the ginger in the way of stopping cancer tumor growth. It kills off those cancer cells and stops it from spreading. It works excellent for even skin cancer. At one point, my dad had a little bit of skin cancer here on the side of his face, and he was waiting to get into a specialist to have it removed. So in the meantime, I told him we made a little paste for it, and he would put on there, and I would tease him because you have to be careful of the yellow. If it gets in your hair, it actually dyes it. So I was telling him he was trying to be, like the Times. He had this nice yellow streak there. But by the time he went to the specialist, it actually dried out, flaked, and he just picked it all off, and he didn't even need the specialist appointment. Totally took care of it. It got rid of it. So it works wonders. You can make it into poultices and pastes, and it'll dry out, it'll dry up. It works very nice. So if you're taking it in a supplement form, if not using the powder, like just the turmeric powder, and you get it in a supplement, usually it'll be called curcumin. And in that case, the active ingredient, which is the curcumin, is concentrated. So it's not just the powder put into capsules, right? It's the active ingredient put into capsules. And so that's what you would take if you use it as a supplement. Now, sometimes they're including pepper in that now because they're saying pepper helps it to be absorbed into the body a bit more. There's some that have cayenne pepper in it, and cayenne pepper is very medicinal, and it's not a lot, it's just a small bit, and if you're taking it by capsule, then it's not so bad. And I prefer that one over black pepper, because black pepper can be an irritant to the stomach. It can actually cause inflammation in the lining of the stomach. And so I stay away from black pepper, but cayenne pepper is medicinal, so just a touch of cayenne pepper with the turmeric is okay, if that's what you like. And on that note, my seasonings back there that we talked about, the spicy chicken, the spice comes from the cayenne pepper. We have a little bit of cayenne pepper in that spicy chicken, and so that's what's creating that little bit of spice. So if you're a spicy person, it's a healthy spice. If you're not a spicy person, then you may not like it.
Is it strong?
Is it strong?
That was my question.
Oh, sorry. Is the spicy chicken strong, you're saying? No, it depends how much you like spicy. I'm a wimp when it comes to heat of anything, so it's not my favorite, but my kids were my testers for it, and they love it. But they're not ones to dump on super hot sauce either. So it's spicy, but it's not going to blow your brains out or anything. A term my kids would use. For another. Smoke, flames. Okay, moving on. Garlic. So I'm sure you've heard of all the benefits of garlic, right? Anti-clotting activity, it's a broad spectrum of an antibiotic. That's what it should say. Broad spectrum of antibiotic. Got my word switched over there. Anti-clotting, anti-tumor, antiseptic, antifungal, anti-heart disease, on and on and on. It's anti-everything, even anti-friends if you wear it around. So, you just have to, we have a rule in our house, if one of us eat it, you're all eating it. And then it's no problem, right? So I should mention here, before I forget, antifungal, anti-yeast. We are finding, we know that cancer is fungus and yeast based. So it's really interesting. If we have fungus or yeast in the body, cancer will grow. So if you're a person that tends to have a lot of fungus, then you want to do whatever to get rid of that, right? Same with the yeast problems or yeast infections. Garlic stimulates your killer T cells. Garlic is a powerful detoxifier. It even helps remove mercury out of the body. So you can eat 2 to 3 cloves a day, or take, or take 3 capsules 2 times a day. You can buy the odorless garlic capsules as well, right? But yeah. Green leafy vegetables. You've heard of vitamin K? So I sort of told you about increasing vitamin D, and so it's proven that with those increased uses of vitamin D, a little bit of vitamin K with it is good as well. You kind of want to combine them. So making sure you have enough vitamin K, but it comes in a lot of our vegetables, especially our dark green vegetables. So it keeps our bones strong, but it helps in the absorption of vitamins and minerals, and that's why we're finding specifically vitamin D, vitamin K will help vitamin D be absorbed into the body. Okay, I said last night I was going to share with you today the power of plant food. Remember how I was describing calcium? That when it's in a plant-based, it was like maybe 90-some milligrams, but it's equivalent to 1,400 milligrams. How is this so? When you have, like if you're taking just calcium, for example, in a supplement form being 1,400 milligrams, the body has to take that and convert it into a form that it can use and that it can absorb. By the time it does that breakdown, you end up with less of it, right? But it's in a usable form at that point. So when we are eating our fruits and our vegetables and so forth, the nutrients are already prepared for absorption. There is no breakdown. It is ready to go. It's fast food. So here is an example of a whole plant food idea. If you were to take 1 cup of cooked kale, it would have 50 milligrams of vitamin C and 13 IUs of vitamin E. That doesn't sound like a lot, does it? If you were to supplement with vitamin C, what is the average amount that we would take in a supplement? How many milligrams? Usually 500. Yeah, usually about 500, right? Some people do 1,000, but the average is 500. How about vitamin E? If you were to supplement with a vitamin E, who supplements with vitamin E? How many IUs is usually? 400, exactly. Okay, so thinking that, 1 cup, only 13 IUs of vitamin E, you compare that to 400 IUs of vitamin E in a supplement, right? Sounds like you have to eat an awful lot of cups of kale, doesn't it? But this is the key. It's ready to go. So when you eat 1 cup of kale, it is equivalent to the antioxidant potential of 1 cup of kale is equal to 800 milligrams of vitamin C and 1,100 units of vitamin E. Isn't that powerful? So that is the power of plants. And that's why I'm saying if we can eat more fruits and more vegetables and foods as growing, you're going to get those nutrients in the amounts that we are wanting. So, all right. Everyone got that? See if
Is that a cup of cooked kale?
Yes, that's 1 cup of cooked kale gives you that. Raw kale, it might be more like maybe 2 cups of raw kale. Yeah, because it's probably double, right? Now, when you're cooking with kale and you're making a kale salad, if you know how it can be really kind of fibrous and that, right? You put it in soups or that, it holds its structure nice, which is nice. But if you're doing a salad, sometimes it can be kind of harsh. Well, take your salad dressing or a little bit of olive oil and lemon juice and that, put on and kind of hand massage it, and it breaks down the membranes of that kale and makes it nice and soft. Now at that point, it's kind of, you know, it makes it soft and kind of, so that would be equivalent to a cup of cooked kale because it would melt, if you will, a little bit, right? So connection between animal protein and plant protein. Have you ever heard of the China study? Yes, okay. The China study is actually the most comprehensive study that's out there when it comes to cancers and that. So if you have never read it, definitely get the book and give it a good read. Once animal protein consumption, according to the China study, is over 20% of your calorie intake, cancer genes are turned on like the flick of a light switch. So that's animal protein. As soon as you're over 20% of your calories of animal protein, you instantly flick on your cancer genes. The same test now, we're done using plant protein, and there was no negative reaction on the cancer genes. They went up over 40 grams of protein, of plant protein, 40% of calories of plant protein, no change. So the plant protein does not turn on cancer genes. Animal proteins turn on cancer genes. Now why? Truth is, cancer cells are protein-based. They are fed on protein. They thrive on it and they live on it between protein and sugar and a little bit of salt. And so we have to be careful when it comes to the animal protein because this can feed the cancer. So if I'm working with someone who has cancer, I will for sure recommend a high plant-based diet because then I don't have the animal protein. I'm not fighting against the animal protein. I'm trying to kill off the cells and the animal protein is feeding the cells, right? There is a DVD out as well called Forks Over Knives. I'm actually jumping ahead of myself, so I'll go here and then come back. And forks over knives meaning eating with a fork, what you put in your mouth versus having surgery with a surgical knife. So how we can change things around and prevent things by the food that we eat, allowing food to be our medicine, right? Some people think the plant-based whole foods diet is extreme. 500,000 a year will have their chest opened up, a vein taken from their leg and sewn onto their coronary artery. Some people would call that extreme. I think I would rather eat a whole foods diet and be an extremist in that way than to go through open heart surgery. Anyone who's been through it, no, it's not a piece of cake. So again, T. Colin Campbell is the one that wrote this China study book. What protein consistently and strongly promoted cancer? It's called casein. Casein is a type of protein that is found in milk. It makes up 87% of cow's milk protein. and it is shown to promote all stages of the cancer process. It starts cancer and it grows cancer. Especially casein is known in the studies to progress or to start breast cancer. And so that, again, that animal protein is what's attacking us in this case once again. Women eating the highest amounts of red meat, sweets, french fries, and refined grains had 1.5 times the risk of colon cancer compared to women who ate more fruits, vegetables, fish, and whole grains. Now this is kind of interesting. In some of the restaurants today, I don't know about out here, but around Alberta, you know, beef, Alberta beef, everything, right? We have restaurants now that are going back to the charcoal broiled steaks and promoting that as a sales feature because people love the taste and they're flocking in to be able to have these charcoal broiled meats. So in a charcoal broiled meat, when the charcoal broils hit the fat in the meat, it converts it into a chemical called benzopyrene. If you were to take a 2-pound charcoal broiled steak, the amount of benzopyrene in that is equivalent to if you smoked 600 cigarettes. Isn't that an eye-opener? So what it is that fat, when the animal fat is hitting it, the toxins produced in the fat of the meat. And if you take off a lot of the fat is still intertwined in that meat. Avoid foods that weaken or destroy the immune system. So we've talked, especially on our diabetes night, a lot to do with sugars. And I showed you how quickly sugars can destroy our immune system by immobilizing those white blood cells. So other foods beyond as well would be mucus-producing foods. So our dairy products end up causing a mucus base in the body, and that allows that mucus to grow the cancer again. It gives it the environment for those cancer cells. Plus the animal products in general will make your body acidic. Plant foods make your body alkaline. Sugar and animal products will make your body acidic. Additives and preservatives, of course, are something else to weaken your immune system. I know many, many specialists, cancer specialists, who will say, it doesn't matter what you eat. You have cancer, but it doesn't matter. Eat what you feel like. Because, I mean, in one sense, they're correct in saying, we want to make sure you keep up your calories and that you still eat. So if you feel like pizza and pop and chips and chocolate bars and donuts, go for it. We're not going to stop you because it makes no effect on the cancer. So in one point, they are correct. You want to eat, right? And keep up your calories. But remember, everything that passes those lips counts. And we know that the sugar will feed those cancer cells. And it'll affect the immune system. The cheese on that pizza is one of the worst fats because it's very, very concentrated casein, that protein in that again. So these kind of foods we do have to look at. It does make a difference what we eat. And I showed you this the other night, so I won't waste time on there. But again, you can see how many teaspoons of sugar you use and how your white blood cells are immobilized to bring down your immune system. These are different herbs or supplements that can be helpful when you're fighting more like colds or flus or that type of thing to help with your immune system in general. We won't go too much into that right now. Again, if you're interested in something like this and you don't get it, jot it down. And so we want to avoid then foods that have especially fungus from entering the body if we have cancer. Now, I'm not saying you can't eat these foods, but if you have cancer, you don't want to eat those foods, okay? And maybe even if you don't have cancer, you might not want to go overboard with it, right? So these are your common fungal foods, and that would be corn. Did you know corn is a natural fungal food? So you don't want to go overboard with the corn. But if you have cancer, all corn, stay away from any corn. Peanuts, same thing, no peanuts. But again, if you don't have cancer, peanuts, peanut butter is okay, right? Within reason. Mushrooms, fungal, pure fungal. Don't want the mushrooms, okay? Now, people always ask me, what about there's mushrooms for cancer? Those are specific medicinal mushrooms, so those are different. But even myself, I haven't researched, to be honest, enough into that to feel comfortable with it. And so I haven't gone that route yet, but I know people who claim it's very good. But I stay away from the cooking mushrooms for sure, with cancer, and chocolate. Also, again, avoid mucus-producing foods. This is your base to your yeast and fungus growth, is that dairy again. So we're talking about all these immune cells. I want you to see this. These are fabulous pictures. So the macrophages reach out to engulf bacteria with a cellular extension called phagocytosis, where the killer cells are lethal. They can trigger a chemical process that punctures the cell membrane of the bacteria and destroys infected cells before viruses inside have time to multiply. So the phagocytosis, or cell-eating macrophages, these are them. And watch this. Here is the killer T cells closing in on that cancer cell. So they're working their way in. Look at that. Killer T cells attacking that cancer cell. And there it is, gone. So your immune system, it does have the power to do this. It's whether you're stimulating it and giving it what it needs to do it, right? So that is the fallback when we choose some of the conventional methods of maybe chemo and that. I mean, I've seen people have great results, by going that route too, so I'm not saying you shouldn't, but at the same time, when we kill off our whole immune system, that worries me, because our immune system is there to protect us, and it's there for a reason. And we talked about vitamin D the other day, but I guess I should also mention that again, that vitamin D, if you weren't here, is very important if you are fighting cancer. Okay, should I take questions right away? Okay, any questions? Make them easy. Yes?
So berries frozen are okay?
Yes, berries frozen are great. Yes, so in the summer, load your freezer. And any berries are very good, actually. Yeah.
Cumin in that, when you boil it as a tea, does that deplete anything from it?
Cumin or curcumin?
Curcumin.
Curcumin, yes. No, it does not. As far as my understanding, heat does not affect it. Yes?
When you dehydrate kale,
Yes,
it still has the same nutrients?
correct. When you dehydrate kale, as far as I understand, it keeps its nutrients. In fact, kale, another thing I should mention, some of these leafy green vegetables that you might make smoothies and things with, when you have an excess amount in the summer, freeze them. You don't have to cook them, you don't have to do anything with them. Just put them in a small Ziploc bag and freeze them in your freezer. And then if you're making something with them, if you need them in a soup or something, you can just chop it up frozen and throw it in your soup. Or if you're making a green smoothie, you can throw them in frozen. I like to do that with beet greens. I will actually grow beets for the greens, for the baby greens. Beets are high in iron, but beet greens are outstanding in iron. And then you just use a few beet greens and throw them in your smoothie in the morning, and it gives a great iron boost. Now, in saying that, I just want to mention that's what triggered it, was iron. A lot of times, we think of some of the nutrients that we might be missing if we don't eat animal products, right? And iron is one of those things. People say, well, where am I going to get my iron if I don't eat my liver? Well, first of all, two things. First, what does the liver do in the body? It filters the blood, takes out all the toxins and poisons. Do you want to eat that? It is the most toxic part of your body. So that's one thing. Secondly, the iron it produces is the wrong iron for your body. Go figure. It kind of works, but it's not the right iron. It actually will increase your risk of heart disease. That type of iron increases your risk of heart disease. And so, the type of iron we want, again, plant-based. So if you can go with some of these dark green vegetables and beets and these, then the absorption of that iron is there, and it's in the right form that you need as well. Yes?
I had a question about the berries. You were saying strawberries. What
Yes.
about like the blueberries and haskell's and
And as in, so what about them as in?
yeah, like nutritional value and
Yes.
something.
All berries are very high in nutrition. They're high in your antioxidants and high in the phytochemicals and some of these kind of things. So all berries, we know berries are like top, right up there with the greens idea, right? But when it comes specifically to salvia straws, they are found highest in the strawberries, yes. But all berries have good nutrients, other good nutrients to even boost your immune system, yes. Sorry, was there a question here?
I was gonna ask,
Oh.
what about dandelions? Do you know what dandelions
Yes.
are?
I learned of dandelions and their benefits from one of the new She's right there. She came to live with us in Calgary once when she went to school, and I'll never forget her first day when she comes into my home and I'm showing her around, and it was summer, and she looks out my kitchen window and she goes, "Oh, yum." And I go, "Oh, yum?" And I'm looking at her, what is yum out there? And she's like, "The dandelions. Can we make a salad? Can we eat them?" And I'm like, "Sure, knock yourself out." But you know, I love that. I always remember this story because, you know, the potency of a dandelion from flower right down to root is incredible. So yes, definitely enjoy dandelions, and they're finding now in the research that dandelion root will also kill and stop cancer cells from spreading.
400 million in the summertime.
Yeah!
I have a million too. I moved from Calgary, and my field is yellow. Yellow that time of year, and my husband always says, "Well, just tell people we're growing organic dandelion." You know, it kills us. You go into the city, and in the health food section, and they sell dandelion greens, right? How much per pound? Are you kidding? We could be millionaires if we start harvesting this stuff. I should put out big signs. You pick dandelion. I wonder how popular I'd be. Yes. Sorry. Yeah.
No, she's just got a
Oh,
broken.
she's yes, you solved. Yeah.
Is there any difference between using limes and lemons? The girls were
Oh, good
wondering if they
question.
like lemons.
Limes and lemons are interchangeable, both good, both equally good. Yeah. So it's yes.
You mentioned turmeric, 1 teaspoon a day. Is that the seasoning, the turmeric seasoning you get in the
Correct.
grocery store, or the supplement?
No, that is the turmeric seasoning. It's 1 teaspoon a day. So if you're going with the capsules, then it's more concentrated. And really watch when they're selling you these capsules, read on them. They'll say extra strength turmeric. And it's like quarter of what another brand is, right? Everyone is jumping on the bandwagon right now of the turmeric or curcumin supplement. So read on it. The average is about 400 milligrams.
So
but
the benefit is in the supplement and not in the actual seasoning you get in the grocery
I know
store?
it's in there
It's in
too.
there too?
Yeah,
Okay,
because the yellow is that curcumin, which is in there. So yeah, actually just sprinkle it in your food and that's all good. Yes.
No, I was just going to say there's a lady in Bay Roberts that makes those capsules
Okay.
because I get them from her all the time.
Actually, and there's a lady in Bay Roberts that grows raw and sells raw turmeric.
Probably
Same
same
lady?
one.
Okay.
Wendy, her name's Wendy.
Yeah, they mentioned it.
She doesn't use pepper with the plain, but she told me that I was taking the pepper, but I got something out my esophagus, so I can't use pepper anymore.
Oh,
So I take the regular, but you put an extra one.
oh, I see. Okay,
I'm going to take that.
there you
A
go.
lot of bottle of stuff. Because it's perfect.
Absolutely. Yes.
Can you just mention about raspberries? Are they good for esophageal cancer? I had heard that they were.
They probably are. Honestly, I don't know offhand. I haven't researched that, but I know that raspberries have very good properties to them. High antioxidant again, and yes, but I don't know about the esophageal cancer. Sorry. Question? Yes.
We have a Vitamix machine,
Yes.
and the whole idea of us buying it is that you can do the whole food in. You can put
Exactly.
everything down in.
Yes.
Peels, this,
Yep.
the
Apple seeds.
everything. But what I was talking, we like apricots a lot, right?
Right.
So how would you? I've never done anything with the seeds of it. I've always taken them out because I thought it's been too big.
Yes.
for my machine.
Okay, so she's saying she has a Vitamix where it takes the whole foods and blends it down. And so when it comes to an apple, you can throw in, of course, with the seeds, but when it comes to an apricot, that's not going to work. That is a very hard stone in there. So, and you don't want the shell casing of that anyways. You want to break it open and just get the middle part. So,
Dry it up, open it up first, or?
yeah, I mean, we've taken them fresh too and just But I tell you, you have to have a cement and a hard hammer and give it all you got. It's not that easy, to be honest, so. You pretty much, it's better to get them already shelled. At a health food store, yes, yes. Yeah, or contact me again. We actually sell apricot kernels while grown from Turkey, and we actually sell them to the health food stores. So if there is a health food store in the area, you can mention that as well. Sorry, yes,
Vitamin B6 and B12.
okay.
Now, you could, what sort of units do you need in those?
I don't remember the B6, what it is. Most vitamin B6 comes the same unit. So whatever, and it doesn't matter what brand, so whatever you buy of the B6 will be the correct unit, put it that way. I think that's 50 milligrams, but I'm not positive. And B12 is anywhere from 1 to 5,000 usually, micrograms. And so it just depends how low in it you are, how much you would need.
So
And
it doesn't come from plants, doesn't B12 does?
It can come in some more from the soil of the plants. So some plants like spinach has shown to have some of the plants have shown to have some.
But if you are a vegetarian, I assume some doctors are recommending that
Yes.
you take the B12.
We are trained to say that if you are completely plant-based, you need to take vitamin B12 at least every couple of days. In saying that, I never used to. I only do now because I know that I require a little bit extra. My family do not take it. They don't need it yet. We use the nutritional yeast flakes that I had mentioned to you guys about on your recipe. Last night, we were talking about the nutritional yeast flakes on that, the Alfredo sauce that we talked about. That is high in vitamin B12. And so if you're using enough yeast flakes on things, that's one way of getting vitamin B12 as well. But it doesn't hurt to take 1,000 micrograms of vitamin B12. You just don't want to go overboard on it. Some people take B12 in a high dose to give them more energy, because if you're low in B12, you can have low energy. But you can have the same symptoms of too much B12 as you do not enough B12. And B12 will store in your system for like 5 years. So it's actually B12. You can ask your doctor to test your blood for B12. And that's what I've always done. And then I know if I'm good or not good on it. You know, it's interesting though, because when they say that if you're on a plant-based diet, you need more B12. But actually when they start to study who needs vitamin B12, it is more people, it is the meat eaters that require more B12 than actual vegetarians. And the reason for it is it depends on what they call the intrinsic factor. So how your stomach, how your system absorbs that B12. If you are low in hydrochloric acid in your stomach for digestion, which a high population people are, then you do not absorb B12. And so if you are eating like a lot of meats or sugars or things you make, you know, your whole system is acidic, and then usually your stomach is more buffered, you're not absorbing the B12. So even though you might be eating it, you're still not absorbing it. So it's good to have your blood tested and know. And to take a B12 with water, like a pill, you don't absorb it. So if you're taking a B complex and hoping to get B12, you have to take a B12 anyway separate, sublingual. So either drops or one that dissolves under your tongue. There's a question over here.
You never mentioned, probably you you never mentioned SCFP.
Oh, Easy Act.
SCFP.
Yes.
I had a call from my niece, the doctor, and I told her about SCFP. And she said, you know that we are ladies with pancreatic cancer, and they could do actually much more in the medical field. She said, one day she went home and took that tea, and she was much better than she was before she took it. So SCFP is really good.
Easy Act is a very popular one. You know, there's many other choices out there, and I can tell you, like Brocogen, and there's a number of different ones that are out there, but it's just not enough time for it. So Easy Act is a choice. Now I skipped over this lady right here.
Oh, I was just gonna ask something about peppers.
Okay.
We have some different color peppers got different problems.
Yes, correct. Correct.
I don't know what I read, briefly. Seeds of peppers. Tell me
Yes.
to throw into my.
Right. The seeds, again, isn't that amazing? It's the seeds that have the nourishment of our plants, right? That's what grows it. So yes, the seeds of peppers are good. And actually the little white pith part of that where the seeds are attached,
Yeah.
that is the highest again in your vitamin C, your bioflavonoids, so that nourishment is where we rip off and throw away.
I throw it all away.
Now, does everyone have a recipe? I should just quickly go through this so that those who want to leave can, and then I can answer questions after. So I've given you 3 new recipes. The top one there is millet pudding. And so I've told you about millet and the benefits of the Laetrile and the B17 of millet. And so this is really kind of a yummy dish. You can eat this for breakfast, or you can have it as dessert if you want, but it's a favorite of ours for breakfast. And you're using millet in it, and it's kind of like a rice pudding idea. And so that's a nice option. I think everything there is pretty straightforward. You can let it soak overnight and then bake it in the oven if you want, or you can bring the milk and the millet to a boil on the stove and then just put it all together and cover it and let it bake. And once it's all swelled up nice and soft, it's ready to go. The next one there is black-eyed bean topping. So you remember those black-eyed beans I showed you the other night? They're black-eyed peas. They're high in folic acid. And they cook up in 20 to 30 minutes. Adding your veggies and different things to that. It's a nice topping. You can put on a baked potato. You can put it on rice. You can put it on cooked quinoa, whatever you like. The bottom one there is a cream of broccoli soup. So if you like cream of broccoli, you will enjoy this recipe. It is completely dairy-free. And using those raw cashews to make a nice rich cream, you can make a really nice cream soup. I used to do some of these cream soups when I had my health food store in Calgary, and I would have people who would be eating this and then they get scared, and I noticed they're not eating it, and they said, I'm sorry, I mentioned that I have a dairy allergy, and I think, and I said, don't worry, it's no dairy. It's actually hard to believe that it can be so close to the actual cream soups. So do try that as well.
Where do you get tapioca starch?
Pretty much a health food store, probably.
Bulk barn.
Bulk barn, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And you can use Dominion. Oh, there you go. It's becoming more popular. Some call it tapioca starch. Some call it tapioca flour. It's the same thing.
Oh, okay.
And it's just an alternative to cornstarch. If you want to use cornstarch, you can as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so either or is fine. Yeah, I use both sometimes. You can get organic cornstarch now.
What about arrowroot?
Arrowroot
Does
is
that
fine.
take-
You would just have to put more in it. And sometimes I find it can almost give a slimier texture, though, is the only thing. All right.
Thank you.